Welcome to class, everybody. If you have any question now, you can just type or raise your hand, and I'll welcome you. You ask the question. So this is Network Kings IT Solutions, and what we intend to do is enhance and enable ourselves to be job ready. And when I say job ready, that's tech related, IT related. So the first class we had was on this, understanding the various career paths in tech. And I spoke about network engineering. I will still share the link to all other classes that we've had. I'll share link to all other classes that we had to this effect so that we can all have access to it. That's those of us who were not in those classes. Excuse me. So just give me some time. All right. Once you can see my screen, please let me know. I want to share my screen. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Thank you. So,
Yes, sir.
yeah, thank you. So, what we've done first was to just say, okay, um, understanding what are the different career paths that we have in tech. We spoke about network engineering, we talk about DevOps, we talk about server administration, we talk about cloud solutions, and many other career paths. But we concluded that irrespective of whichever area we want to go in tech, networking remains the core that we can do without networking. And that made us to start with network engineering and looking at network fundamentals. However, we've been having more like haphazard movement, and I wouldn't want that to continue. So I want us to be job ready. I want us to be prepared. And as a matter to that effect, I decided to prepare a scheme. So we'll go through that scheme, and we will see what we've done so far. We'll click that, and then that will help us. So I have it for this course is definitely going to be for 3 months. Remember, you're not paying anything. I'm not. It's not about paying something. Now it's about understanding and being job ready, because I shared a job opportunity on the platform and I got so many responses, and I keep saying, now the truth is, offers are always available. Jobs are always ready. The only challenge is how prepared are we to take up those opportunities. So, in the first month, we'll be looking at basics of networking, which I know that every one of us here already have uh, fundamental knowledge of what is networking. We already know what is networking, okay? Connecting two or more devices for the purpose of communication. We've discussed networking. Everybody here can tell me, oh, overview of the types of network, LAN, WAN, MAN. We all have this understanding. I can still share links to that video to this effect. Once we're done, we already understand what network topologies, what it meant. We all have these. So we've sorted this, highlighted in red. Everybody here understand what a bus topology is, what a star topology is, what a ring topology is, and what mesh simply means. Day two. So we are looking at it from month one now, what we are supposed to have covered. Okay, so day two, when we're meeting, so it's going to be 3 times in a week, like I said. So we look at network components. Obviously, I've discussed what network devices are with us, what a switch is, what a router is, what a hub is. I explained all of this to us. We've looked at what end devices are. We talk about PCs, servers. Some of us already know how to configure DHCP server here, for instance. Some of us can even configure a router at the moment, so which is good. Mobile devices that most of us already have knowledge of. We've talked about transmission media. We talk about the fact that, okay, we can transmit either via cables, which is how we connect our end devices to the switch, how we connect our PC or the server to the switch or to the router. And we know about fiber optics. I think I might just have to do some better explanation on fiber optics to us. However, what's the difference between the traditional cable and fiber optics is just the fact that fiber optics can carry more traffic compared to our LAN traditional Cat 6 or Cat 5 or Cat whatever Cat 3 cable it is. So, and most times when you look at Cat 5 or Cat 6 cables, after every 100 meter, there is what we call attenuation. That is, the signal quality of the cable becomes degraded. So you need to add another device that can help you to boost it. But when it comes to fiber, you don't have such experience. It can go miles. That is why you see that when most times you say, oh, I want a fiber link, I want a fiber link, that's because of how fast and the amount of data that can be transmitted via that. So basically, I've just explained what a fiber is. Fiber optics really is. It's still able to carry traffic from one place to another. So day three, we'll be looking at the OSI model. Okay, so I am going to have to explain this. This possibly is going to be our next class, and I'm going to have set it up. So that will be on Wednesday. So this is what we'll be looking at on Wednesday. We should be prepared towards that because I want to have this sorted. I want to sort it out. So this is week 2. So if you look at week 1 now, we've absolutely covered more like 75% of what we need to cover for week 1. Now, week 2, network addressing. We already did things regarding network addressing. IP addressing basics, we've done that already. We already know what is an IP address. Everybody here already understand that, okay, for any device to communicate on a network, it needs to have an IP address. We already know what IPv4 address scheme is. We know there are 2 different types of IP, IPv4 and IPv6. And the different classes of IP, I believe we all know that now. Oh, class A, class B, class C, class D, and class E. We have videos on that. I will share that with us for those of us who have not. We already define and distinguish between a public and a private IP address. We have video to that effect as well. We said the public IP address is always the IP address that our upstream provider, our ISP, gives to us. Okay, so but private IP address is what is used within a local area network, within a LAN. So we already finished day 1 in week 2 of month 1. Day 2, we've started subnetting and we've gone pretty well. We already understand what a subnet mask is and the subnetting techniques. The last class, we look at what CDI is, classless interdomain routing. And this is the practice exercise. So this will be our third class, because I'm not going to leave this uh, class until we'll understand this. So I want to prioritize this. I'm already preparing to get a board for us, because I might need to be able to write and explain some things for us. So this will be the class for Friday. So Friday this week. So we should be prepared towards that. So day 3, IPv6 IP addressing. We've already explained what IPv6 is, introduction to IPv6, even though it's not going to be 100%, or I will call it full flex IPv6, because at the moment we are not even the only a few ISPs had integrated IPv6 into their infrastructure. We are still with IPv4. Why? Because IPv4 gives us, through the technology of NAT, network address translation, we still have the flexibility of relying upon IPv4. However, as a network engineer, as someone who wants to, not just because you want to be a network engineer or a technical, an IT professional, you need to also have an idea of, oh, if I see an IP, I should be able to distinguish between IPv4 and IPv6. So we're going to look at this in depth. Network protocol. That's the next thing that we'll look at. What are the different network protocol that we have? HTTP, HTTPS. What's the difference between them? FTP, file transfer protocol, DNS. Most of us we already know what DNS is. Some of us has configured DNS and it's working perfectly. We had a class for DNS, we had a class for DHCP, and we can configure and it looks good. So that's, but we'll look at what is HTTP and HTTPS. We'll look at that and we will get it up and running. So that will be for week 3. We'll look at TCP IP suite, TCP versus UDP, IP addressing within TCP IP suite. Then we're going to do packet capture and analysis, even though we might have to do this with our Cisco packet tracer at the moment, but then we could have gotten Wireshark installed. If we get Wireshark installed, we'll be able to see how traffics are being routed via different headers that we explained. So network configuration, we're going to look at basic router configuration. Most of us can configure a router already. Most of us here can configure a router. When we're saying we are configuring a router, when you say, oh, config T, you configure the host name of the router. You say, oh, it's a LAN router or it's a DHCP server. You are configuring the router as a DHCP server, for instance, and you give it a host name. You configure the interface, maybe fast Ethernet 0/0. You put an IP address in /25 or /24 or /30, and no short to bring up the interface. So, but we're going to look at it in depth and how to configure switch. Why do we need to learn switching? This is very important. One of us is on this call now. He asked me for an assignment. We quickly look at RIP and RIP routing protocol and I think VLANs. So the purpose of us learning switch, because we could have just do our switch and do plug and play. I remember explaining to us in the last class why we need to ensure that we have. Okay, somebody raised up hand. Okay, so let's hear you, Mr. Adeyemi. Please ask your question.
Yes, sir. Um, I've not been following up with the previous classes regarding the configuration of the DHCP, configuring a router as a DHCP server or as a local LAN, like you said. I don't know any of it, or configuring a switch. Is there a video like I can reference back to?
Okay, so fantastic. Yes, we have videos on that already, and I will share that with
Okay.
you. So just chat me up once we are done in the class. I wanted to show us something. So
Okay,
just
sir.
give me a moment now. I'll be sharing something with us in a moment. So once you see my
Okay,
uh,
sir.
my I'm bringing up the Cisco packet tracer. We're going to learn something
Okay.
very fast now, and you will see why learning switching is very important. As a matter of fact, there are some people that the network engineer role that they are is just simply switching. They are not even in layer 3. They are layer 2. We call a switch a layer 2 device. A switch is a layer 2 device, but we have a switch that we call multi-layer switch. That's layer 3 devices. It's a layer 3 device because it can do both routing and switching. But we'll get there. So just give me a moment. I'm trying to open a new one. Okay. Oh. All
Okay,
right.
sir.
So can you see my packet tracer? If you can just do a hi. Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. So if I have 3 PCs in 3 different uh, departments in the office. So let's say from 11, 12, 13. Then let's say I have this in 15, 16, 17. So 11, 12,
Sorry,
and
sir.
yeah, please ask your question.
Sorry, sir.
Good.
Sorry to cut in, but I'm finding it hard to. Okay, the Cisco and packet tracer is back. I could no longer see it the other time,
Okay.
so I have to ask.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So this is 11, 12, 13 are for instance, let's say these are for the sales department, and these are for, let's say, IT. Please pay attention. So I can come inside my switch. Please, this is where the main thing is. Let's call it config T, configure terminal. This is the first thing you have to do when you log into a switch or a router. I've shown us how to configure using console cable because somebody asked that question, very intelligent question when we started, that is this the same way I'm clicking on this switch that I will click on it in real life? I said no. And I showed us in the video how you have what we call a console cable that will be connected, and you are going to be using something what we call a PuTTY or mobile extern. We're going to have a practical class to explain that as well. But now, this is a switch. So the first thing is to give host name, but that's not where we are going. Host name, let's call it LAN switch. So it's our LAN switch. You see that the name changed to LAN switch. Now, I know that port at the moment, if I give all these switches, if I give them an IP address, they will be able to communicate with one another. For it to be easy for me, for those of us that are coming to this class for the first time, let me bring up a router to quickly do DHCP for us. So if I have a router and I connect that router to ether 1 of the fast Ethernet 0/1 on the switch, so I can quickly do this and say configure terminal, host name, let me call it my DHCP server. So The interface that is connecting there is gigabit 0. So I can say interface gigabit 0/0. Let me give it an IP address of 192.168.20.1, 255.255.255.0. No short. That interface should come up now. It becomes green. That tells you that, oh, it can receive traffic and it can send traffic. So let's move on to the next thing. So I want to configure a DHCP server. You don't have to ask question now. There's a comprehensive video step by step, but I want to make it fast for us here. So I just say IP DHCP exclude. It should exclude the following IP address: 192.168.20.1 to 192.168.20. Let's say 25. So it should dish out from dot 26 and above. So it has done that. So I will now say IP DHCP pool. So what pool? Let me call it my LAN pool. LAN pool. So the network is 192.168.20.0. That's the network. It says incomplete, so you need to put the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Then the gateway, that's the default router, 192.168.20.1. The default router is the IP of the router itself. So we can put a DNS of 8.8. Let's just put that, and we should be good to go. So let's see. We are good. Fine. So let's save this. Now, look at this, please. On this first PC 0, if I ask it to pick an IP address via DHCP, it should be able to pick dot 26. Can you see this? This is dot 26. Okay? Now, if I come to PC 5, which is in another department at the moment, I've not configured VLAN on my switch. I come to this, it's going to pick dot 27, right? 192.168.20.27. Fine. In other words, if I ping dot 27, ping 192.168.20.27 is reachable, even though I am in IP config to see this is dot 26. Now I can ping from PC 0 to PC 5. Now, when we create VLAN inside this switch, look up, please. When we create VLAN here, I can now separate, I can make it difficult for PC 2 to be able to reach PC 5. So VLAN is helping us to create security or creating another switch inside the switch. So let me start by saying config T. Already have that. Configure terminal. So let me create two VLANs. So let's say VLAN 10. Let's give it a name. Name sales team. So then I can create the second one, just VLAN 20. Let's call it IT name. We give it a name, IT team. Now we know that interface 11, fast Ethernet 0/11, 0/12, and 0/13, they are all for this sales team. Okay, so if you can, I'm recording this section so you could watch it later on. For somebody who is in the camera, you might just maybe log out and log in again. So I want to write something. Just give me a moment. Okay, somebody is saying something. I'm listening.
All right. yes, I heard what you said. I
Okay.
guess I'll just watch it later.
All right, fine. That will be
I've
good.
been trying to. I don't know what is happening.
Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be network as well. If your network lags. Okay.
All right, sir. All right, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. So I can't see where to write. I know I always get that somewhere. Then, okay. Okay, so this is it. So let's say this is the system. System. Fantastic. So I'm able to get that up and running. So this is the system. Excuse me. So this is the IT team. Remember, at the moment, both the PC in the system and the PC in the IT team can reach themselves. Let me bring up this PC in the IT team, .27. So we'll close this and we come and say ipconfig is .27 and it tries to ping 192.168.20.26, which is in the system, also reachable. Now, I've created two VLAN, or we have created two VLANs in the switch. So if I want to see the VLANs in my switch, I can just say show VLANs. You see, VLAN what? VLAN 10 sales team and VLAN 20 IT team. But there is no any interface there. But we know that Fast Ethernet 11, 12, and 13 are for sales team. So I can go and configure it. Config T. Interface. The first interface is 11. So interface Fast Ethernet 0/11. Switch port mode. You are changing the mode of that switch. Switch port mode access. Then switch port mode access VLAN. Switch port mode. Switch port access. Switch port access VLAN. Switch port access VLAN. You are now putting it on VLAN 10. Now look up. If I do show VLAN now, show VLAN. When I do show VLAN now, you will see that Fast Ethernet 11 now is now associated to sales team on VLAN 10. The same thing you will do for all other interfaces. As it is now, they won't be able to talk to themselves again. But before that, let's put the other guy in VLAN 20. So let's look at the interface on which PC5 is connected to. PC5 is connected to Fast Ethernet 17. So we go back to our switch. Then we go to the interface. Interface Fast Ethernet 0/17. Switch port mode access. That's the first command. Then switch port access VLAN 20. So if you do show VLAN again, you will see that now 11 is on VLAN 10 and 17 is on VLAN 20. Obviously now, they won't be able to talk to themselves again. This is PC0, the PC that is in the sales department, and this is PC5 that is in the IT department. If I try to ping again, you see now, they won't be able to talk to themselves any longer. Meanwhile, they were able to talk to themselves before. So this is where knowing VLANs, knowing switching, where it comes into play. Can you see that? Now, if I go back by our design here, all the PCs in system will be able to reach themselves, but they will not be able to reach the PCs in the IT department. So I move ahead now, but this PC1 in system, this one is connected to fast Ethernet 0/12, but at the moment I've not configured it. So if we ask it to pick IP via DHCP, obviously it should pick 28 or so. Yes, it picked 28. So let's go and start pinging 29 down. Ping -t 192.168.20.29. It's not going to respond now because we don't have any PC that has 29. But I want to bring PC 4 up, and it should pick IP address, and then we will see what happens. So let's ping continuous ping 192.168.20.28. That is the PC one that is in the sales department. However, let's allow a pick an IP address. So this will definitely pick 29 because it's taking it. Okay. So if we go back to our PC 1, we should see it respond. Can you see this now? So it's responding now to the ping in 20.29 and is in the IT department. The reason it's responding is because we are yet to put the two of them in any different VLAN. So if we close this and check our ping that we were doing here the other time, you see it's responding now. The two of them are responding. I put them on a continuous ping. Now, immediately I go and configure the switch and put PC1 in the sales and put PC4 in the IT. The two of them won't be able to talk to themselves again. But PC1 will be able to talk to PC0 that is in system. And PC4 will be able to talk to PC5 that is in IT. So let's just watch. While I go to my switch now, in the switch, I want to put PC1 now on the system, which is fast VLAN 10. And that's fast Ethernet 0/12. So I go config T, interface, fast Ethernet 0/12, switch port mode, access, then switch port, access, VLAN 10. It will stop responding now. It won't be able to reach it. You will see the two of them will lose connection now. Can you see? Request timeout. Request timeout. So they can't talk to themselves again because now I have put PC1 in a different VLAN. Now, let me configure PC4 in its own VLAN. So PC4 should be on interface IX. So it's 1718, should be 18. Interface fast Ethernet. Let me confirm that. Just give me a moment. PC4 is on fast Ethernet. You can just place your mouse to hover on this 16. So it's on 16, 15, 16. So we have PC4 on 16. So interface fast Ethernet 16, switch port mode, access, and switch port access VLAN 20. Now, let's look at both PC0 and PC1 now. So if I bring up PC0 and PC1, PC0 and PC1, this is PC1. all of these things we are doing is going to be part of our troubleshooting techniques. So if I do, how do I know my IP config? These are troubleshooting techniques. So PC1 is 20.28, 192.168.20.28 IP config. While PC0 is 192.168.20.26. PC1 should be able to ping PC0 because both of them are in the sales department, the sales VLAN 10. So ping 192.168.20.28. You see, responding, fine. The same thing applicable to PC1, ping 192. Let me put it on a continuous ping, -t, 192.168.20.26, responding. So what VLAN does for us is it helps us to segment traffic at the layer 2 level. So we need to understand that. And it's more than this, but then this is the basic fundamentals of what understanding switch configuration is. So we're going to look at the introduction to the command line interface. That's the CLI, which is what I've been doing all this while. We're going to look at static and dynamic routing. Yes, somebody came and we did RIP together and it was so excited. Yes. So static routing is when you configure a static route from a particular route to another different network. But then you can use dynamic routing like RIP, like AIGRP, OSPF. We won't go in details in this. We just look at it because we're not saying we'll come and become a core network engineer at the moment. Just understand the fundamentals that, if you get a remote gig, you can quickly, how to quickly set up something, how to look up some things, they can ask you questions and you can be able to say, what is the difference between RIP, version 1 and version 2? I've taught us what classless is and what classful is. So RIP version 1 is a classful routing protocol, while RIP version 2 works like a classless. So you just need to understand the differences there. EIGRP, OSPF. Then when you want to begin to do like public routing and the internet routing protocol, we look at your BGP, and from BGP you have what we call the IBGP and the eBGP, but those are the advanced level. Just understand the fundamentals and what they really mean. So week 4, we're going to look at network security, and I cannot but emphasize this. For some of us that are going to be delving into cybersecurity, as time permits us, we're going to be looking at all of that. So network security, introduction to network security, common security threats, malware, phishing, DOS, and all of the rest. We look at that just on the foundational level. Firewalls, and I'm going to be taking us just the fundamental setup and configuration of these firewalls. These 2 firewalls I want to look at for us. Palo Alto. I'm certified in Palo Alto, and I'm also certified in Fortinet. So I'm going to be taking us on Palo Alto, just how to configure it and basically how to create IPsec VPN tunnels between 2 remote locations so that you get some gigs and you can get some things done. So Palo Alto and Fortinet. So we're going to set up some things in that. And some people call it FortiGate. It's fine. It's the FortiGate that is So Palo Alto, one of I still call it my best. But then we could do some things there. Cisco ASA is also there, but these are the 2 we'll look at. Just basic setup and configuration. That's that. So some of us might be employed as a network engineer and they expect you to also still, double as the security engineer. The way Nigeria is, they expect you to know it all, and it's a good thing, and it's always a plus for you as a network person. So understanding firewall, packet filtering, stateful, VPN concept and configuration. Like I said, we'll look at that basic configuration. We look at that SSL, IPsec. Yeah, we'll look at all of this to conclude our first month. Second month, intermediate networking concept and advanced routing and switching. We'll do that. Routing concept, okay, you see now they're now talking about introduction to routing protocol, RIP, OSPF, EIGRP, configuring static and dynamic route, we'll do that, and then routing tables and route summarization, we'll look at it at the foundational level. Switching concept, VLANs and inter-VLAN routing, this is very interesting, we'll look at that. Spanning tree protocol, this is the major challenge some companies had, some ISP have. I worked in an ISP for a very long time. I would say that most of my career has been in ISP. So it's sometimes a routing loop can cause a big issue on a network that can be, many base stations could be down. So we're going to look at how to configure VLANs on switches, which is what we've done tonight. If you take your time to go through this videos, you already have the foundational knowledge of configuring of VLANs and adding interfaces to VLANs. And then we look at WAN technologies. When we say WAN technologies, MPLS, Metro Ethernet, MPLS, VPN, layer 3 MPLS, and many more. So frame relay, I doubt if there's this on any infrastructure. If any company or any ISP is running frame relay now, we should begin to ask them what their problem is. But then people run MPLS now, mainly MPLS, and then layer 3 IP services. Okay, and some configuring basic WAN connectivity. Okay, so we look at wireless networking. We're going to set up some access points for wireless configurations. Controllers, we can look at some controllers, Cisco controllers. We won't go deep in this, I have to be sincere, because it's expensive, but if we have sponsors, we could get that to be set up. Okay, so wireless security, we'll look at this because you might be engaged on that. We look at wireless network troubleshooting, how to troubleshoot a network, and how to, capture traffic using Wireshark. Then this one, very important, network monitoring and management. I'm going to take us on this. PRTG, SolarWinds, and Nagios. Because when you are coming into as a support person, for instance, technical support engineer, one of the major things you're going to be doing is going to be network monitoring whether a base station is down, whether a customer link is down. So the tools that you use to monitor infrastructures, network, servers, we call it SNMP, Simple Network Monitoring Protocol. And example of that is PRTG, SolarWinds. We have Dude. I'll set up Dude with us. We're going to do that setup. You do it yourself using McRotic router to get that done. Network management, configuration management, managing network devices, backup and restore, hands-on and setting up network monitoring. We'll do this, like I said. Then network documentation, very important. Type of network documentation, diagrams and IP schemes. Though we have some tools now that can help us to do that, but then in the early days, it wasn't so. We're going to look at virtualization. This is the part I love so much in networking. Virtualization and cloud networking. Very cool. We look at AWS. That's where I want to take us. But then we just look at it at the foundational level, so that you understand what AWS is, what do they do, what kind of services do they have. Of course, we could also delve into Azure, but then it's those of us that want to go into DevOps that we're going to be doing more things in that regard. So virtualization, introduction to network virtualization, virtual LAN, virtual switches, and some configuring virtual networks. We do that. Cloud networking basics. I know that most of us in this class already understand what we call cloud service model. Infrastructure as a service. We had a class on that. I can share the video with us for anyone that needs that. Platform as a service, we explain all of this. Software as a service, we explain all of that. Cloud networking concept, VPC. This is in AWS, also in Azure. Load balancers. Those that will be going deeper. We'll just explain it on the foundational level in this class, but for those of us that are going to DevOps classes, we'll take it deeper. Understanding cloud connectivity, cloud security and management, that is also going to be done. Managing cloud networks, AWS and Azure. Like I said, it's going to be Azure, AWS that will focus more on. Then setting up a basic cloud network, that's VPC. is we call it virtual private cloud. So you are going to be creating your own network in the cloud. You have your router, you have your servers and everything set up. So in the third month, which is going to be the concluding part of the training or the course, how to troubleshoot, very important, because what makes you a very good engineer is the fact that you are able to troubleshoot. They say, oh, I cannot browse. And if you cannot browse, what do you do? Sometimes you could just restart the system and they start browsing. And they don't know. He said this server has been down, it's been working for 2, 3 years. And now it's very slow. It's not working well again. You could just go there and reboot. To reboot it and it comes back up and everything start working effectively. But they will tell you, what do? You won't know. They just, our IT person don't do something. They start healing you. All you've done is to reboot. A reboot solves so many problems. Sometimes. Okay. So we look at troubleshooting methodologies, common troubleshooting models, the OSI model, how to troubleshoot from layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, basic network troubleshooting. Then we look at troubleshooting tools. You see, ping, traceroute, NSLOOKUP. I've been using ping since we started. We'll look at traceroute, which help us to know the hop counts. We are going to be analyzing network issues with Wireshark, then hands-on scenario. Also, common network issues. Identifying and resolving IP conflicts. This is what happens sometimes. DNS and DHCP issues, we get that done. Like I said earlier, most of us can configure DNS and DHCP server by now. So it helps you to be able to know, oh, if the DHCP server is working, if I am getting an APIPA IP, what do I need to do? Okay, advanced security concepts, intrusion, detection and prevention, IDS and IPS. We look at that as well. Configuring IPS and IDS, we look at that. Then NAC, network access control. What I will be explaining with us here is the Cisco ISE. I'm going to see how we set up a Cisco ISE and how the Cisco ISE work. A very fantastic device. I use it in my office and it's been awesome. You could create different things. Nobody can log into your LAN without your permission. You create username for everything. Very, very helpful. You can use it for authentication. Anybody wants to log into your switch, you can use it to authenticate any user. So very awesome too. And there are other free network access control devices as well. So we configure access control list. That's on our switch. Implementing NAC. We look at that. Then concluding part will be for penetration testing basics. Even though this is definitely going to be in cybersecurity, we just look at it at the peripheral levels. Nmap, Metasploit. These are when you begin to go into hacking, how to hack a system, how to hack an end device, how to scan a network to get information. We just look at it at the peripheral level. Then software defined network, introduction to software defined network, SDN controller and architecture. We won't be able to set up all of this at the moment, but we just look at it to understand what it means and people understanding. Like if you are asked questions, you can take care of those questions. Internet of Things. Most of us we are here where we use Internet of Things. So we look at setting up a basic Internet of Things network. What is your 5G and the future of networks? We look at all of that. And with that, we conclude our training. So I don't know if anybody has any question. So like I said, this is Network Kings IT solution, and our goal is to help us get ready and prepared for the next career tech that can come our way. So, any question? Because I want to post this. Okay, somebody is raising up hand. Please ask your question, please.
Yeah, so I really appreciate how the schedule is being done. In fact, we have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is to plead with you. Sometimes reminder mostly comes within a few hours to the time.
Okay.
So I don't know if we can be giving some kind of reminder or timetable for us to put it on our calendars so that we can even prepare before time.
Okay, fantastic. So I will do that now. So classes is generally going to be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, except there will be an emergency. Because what I want us to do now is I don't want to put that into the training, into the recordings, because I don't want the recordings to be more than at most maybe 50 or an hour, so that you don't get bored. Okay, so I want us to prepare a job winning resume. So maybe we could just spend 30 minutes to do that tomorrow. That's not part of the classes, so we do that tomorrow. But classes is going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I'm stopping this class at the moment.